Sisters.
I'm Sandhya.
And I'm Swapna.
And this is the STEAM League, where we get to learn about the day-to-day careers, aspirations, and origin stories of incredible superheroes in science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
And today we're flipping excited because we get to be joined by Eric Chong.
Yes, and Eric is a celebrated chef and was the very first winner of MasterChef Canada. Amazing. He's also trained and worked as a chemical engineer and is a partner at the acclaimed restaurant R&D.
Welcome to the STEAM League, Eric. It's so good to see you again.
Pleasure seeing you too. That was a phenomenal introduction. That started off with very high energy. I like it.
Thanks. So we've cooked up a quick game to get this chat started.
Okay, and it's the quick fire round of questions. We're going to be picking questions out of this here oven mitt. The first one is...
Okay, your first question, Eric, is what's the most difficult ingredient you've ever worked with?
I'd have to say preserved duck egg.
How come? What makes it hard to...
It's because you have to clean probably like 3 layers just to get to the yolk. You don't really use the white. So like it comes in like black ash. You have to scrub it, then crack the shell, drain the white, wash that, dry it, then steam it, and then pass it through a fine sieve. So it's a lot of labor just to get some duck egg yolk.
But worth it. Well worth it.
Well worth it.
Okay, your second quick fire question is, who would you want to create a meal for that you haven't yet?
That I haven't yet. I guess the dream is always obviously Gordon Ramsay. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to be very entertaining.
Gordon, if you're out there,
go to R&D.
Okay, your next question is, what's your favorite food or category of food?
Favorite food would obviously have to be a lobster. No surprise to anybody, even you two know. I guess, yeah, even shellfish. Like if you're talking about category, like I love sea urchin, I love scallops, large prawns, spot prawns, langoustines. All of that is really up my alley.
Yeah, lots of variety there.
I see where you're coming from.
Okay, your next question is, what is your favorite meal that you've ever had? That might be a tough one.
Man, that's pretty tricky. The most recent would obviously have to be Aloe in Toronto. It's Canada's #1 restaurant. But if we're talking like lifetime, man, I'd have to say it was probably the truffle tasting menu at Otto Mezzo Bombana in Hong Kong. It's a 3 Michelin star Italian restaurant. It was, yeah, they're extremely generous with truffles, to say the least.
That sounds amazing.
We have never tasted truffle, so that's going to go on our
Never?
list. Never.
Wow. You're missing out. If you like mushrooms, you'll love truffles.
Clearly, we haven't lived.
Noted. Who would you share a brunch with from history?
From history? I'd love to share a brunch with Bruce Lee. I know you're probably expecting me to say chef, but it'd just be cool to pick his brain. Like I did martial arts growing up, and he was always an idol, especially being Asian background.
Yeah.
So you did martial arts growing up?
Yeah, I did Taekwondo.
Oh, cool.
That is super cool. And Bruce Lee is an excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You would want to join that one. Fly in the world. The next one is, what would your superpower be?
If I could choose, right?
If you could choose.
If I could choose, I'd probably want like absolute control of my body. I don't know if that counts as a superpower, but like the power to like make myself go to sleep whenever I want, like regeneration, just like pure absolute control.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Or like a starfish.
I like that. Okay, what's the most important skill you use in your job?
Most important? I guess for day-to-day, the most important skill would definitely be like knife skills as a day-to-day, but like as a business person, I'd say by far the most important skill would be math. I think it's what separates me from other chefs, is that with having an engineering background, my math is I'd say, like, it's fair to say, far superior than the normal like culinary school student. So it's come very handy.
That's a really good mix of things to have. And hey, anyone listening out there, math is important. Keep taking it. Okay, your next question is, What was your favorite subject in school growing up?
Favorite subjects? Man, I would say like phys ed was my favorite subject just because it was actually fun to do. But in terms of like favorite, like enjoyed learning, I honestly didn't really have a favorite. I had a lot of not like least favorites. Like I absolutely hated history and geography. So those are my two worst subjects. But like to pick out a favorite, it's pretty difficult.
Fair enough. Phys ed is a good choice.
Your second to last question is, what's your favorite city?
Favorite city? Besides Toronto, of course, it would have to be Singapore. Yeah, Singapore is like very tourist friendly, very clean. The food scene is phenomenal. It has a bit of everything you can look for in a vacation. Yeah, like good weather, good food, nice people, and they have a mix of like hotels, resorts. It has a bit of everything, and it's affordable.
Oh, it's definitely going on my list.
So when we can all travel again, you're probably going to head over to Singapore.
Yeah, I have some family there as well, so it's a good place to go.
Cool. Okay, your last quickfire question is, what is your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday is definitely Halloween. It's not. I know most people would say Christmas, but my birthday's 2 days after Christmas, so it was never really, I guess, like a great holiday. I do love Christmas music, but Halloween is definitely my favorite. I really enjoy dressing up, going out with friends. Yeah, I'm pretty hardcore on costume.
Okay.
Best costume.
Best costume?
I went as a lobster last year, or as a walk lobster, so I had like a walk and stuff. But other years, I probably, it's not very PG, so I can't really say.
Lobster is great.
We'll go with walk lobster on that one.
Okay, so before we move on, I have a quick question, which is, what do funny pastry chefs like to bake?
I don't know, man.
Cinnamon puns.
God. My fiance tells me like horrible puns as well. What happens when you boil a funny bone?
I don't know.
Something to do with marrow, I bet.
It's very hubris.
I
Horrible.
like
Absolutely
the way
horrible.
That's
I love
fantastic.
the way she thinks.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way.
All right, excellent. Now we're going to explore the who, what, where, when, why, and how of Eric Chong and his career by asking him some career questions. So let's talk about it.
Okay, so Eric, superhero Eric, you're a chef and you're also a partner at the restaurant R&D. What does your day-to-day look like?
Day to day, like when we were open as a restaurant, I presume, not during this quarantine takeout. So I'd probably get into the restaurant around, like, if it's a busy day, we'll say noon. But the thing is with owning a restaurant, you don't really have like hours of work. Like the second I wake up, it's already work. So like you have to check your emails. The longer I spend at home means I'm taking out more time of my day at work, because I'm not paid by the hour, right? So it doesn't benefit me to just show up at 1 p.m. every day. It's important that I always come in prepared, focused, would open up the restaurants, go to the market, get some produce, whatever we need that day, and then begin prep. I'd have, like, if it was an event night, I'd have to have briefing with the back of house staff and then the front of house staff when they get in at around like 5 p.m. But they need to know what's cooked during the menu. We get prep, we do service, and then we close out at like 12 p.m. Yeah, but there's not really like a work day, I'd say, because pretty much all my waking hours is work.
Yeah, so you don't have a typical work day with a typical schedule. It's kind of whatever's happening in the restaurant is what you have to deal with.
Exactly. So I wouldn't say every day is the same. We like to say, like, at work, there's a bunch of curveballs, and trust me, we get a lot of curveballs.
Well, your second question is, you earned the incredible honor of being the very first winner of MasterChef Canada. What was that experience like, and what does it mean to you?
I think it was of course, I can't say it was a bad experience, but like looking back, I was like 20 years old when I had won, so I was very young, very immature. But I think it was an important step because it opened like doors that would have never opened before. I wouldn't have ever been able to partner up with like Alvin and OMB like I have now at R&D, and it was a monumental moment in my life, of course. But I guess there's like some moments of regrets of how I behaved on the show, looking back, but it all turned out pretty okay, I guess.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so your next question is, how did you get your start in cooking, and what steps does it take to become a professional chef?
So I would take that as two different questions. My start in cooking would obviously have to start at a young age. If you want to be like a chef, you have to have a passion for it. There's no way anyone who wants to be successful in this industry can be successful without absolutely loving cooking. And I strongly believe that if anybody like devotes their whole attention, focus to something they're passionate about, they could truly be successful. It's all about the commitment and dedication. So like, it's honestly not that hard to cook. I feel like if you just devoted like even like a month of just research, practicing, training, if you hypothetically had like endless amounts of money and you could just buy these ingredients to practice on, I think anyone can do it. But it just, what separates the others, like the greats from the, I guess, average, is just passion. So if you do want to get your foot in like a professional kitchen, you just really need to love how to cook. I don't really look at the resumes, and I think times are changing where a lot of other restaurants don't either. Like, it's great if you have all these accolades, but if you have a bad attitude, nobody wants to work with you. So we always give a trial shift. Everybody gets a chance. Resume, whether it's empty or full, we have to enjoy working with you, and we have to actually feel the passion coming from the cook.
Wow, wise words. Definitely wise words.
And having a passion for something makes it feel like not so much work, right? It's
exactly. Yeah, because the hours are long. I think for like amount of like man hours and like energy that actually goes into it, you could maybe make more doing something else, but it wouldn't be as fulfilling as cooking. I mean, people who like are in this industry for the long run, they absolutely love cooking. They cook at work, they go home and cook dinner. They, on their days off, they'll cook a even bigger feast. Like, they have to live, sleep, breathe cooking.
Yeah. And when did you start cooking yourself?
My first memory of cooking was like when I was 6. I saw photos of like folding dumplings with my grandfather, and he was a chef as well, so that was a good foundation to have. Like, my mom was a good cook because she learned from my grandpa, and then always going to his house, we would cook family dinners together. And it was like, my brother never really liked to be in the kitchen, so I was always the guy who was like, oh, what can I help with? And I was very intrigued and fascinated, the fact that I could like taste something so good and then ask my grandfather how to make it, and then I could replicate it after that. So it was fascinating to me how something that brought so much joy to me, I could just bring it to myself. I could just make myself happy.
That's an amazing skill.
Pretty good skill. And what would you say the steps to becoming a professional chef are? Just a lot of practicing cooking. I mean, you can't quit early, for sure. It's about like resilience. And the biggest question for a lot of people, they have to say, oh, how do I get my like foot in the door? Obviously, like, entering the industry was very difficult for me to start off. Like, I didn't start off with just a restaurant. I worked at Buca. It's one of the Italian restaurants in Toronto, but I didn't tell them I had won MasterChef. Like, I just worked there as like from the ground up because I wanted the true experience. And honestly, when I first opened the restaurant, it is hard to gain the respect of your peers, being younger than them. Like, at the time when we opened the restaurant, I was 22, and a lot of the chefs working for me were older than me, and they're just like, oh, you hit the jackpot, you didn't have to grind 10 years like I did, but through hard work you can eventually gain the respect. So the only way you can gain the respect of like other chefs is by outworking them. So I'd say don't quit, don't think you have to take shortcuts. As long as you keep working and have a good attitude, anyone can do it.
Well, definitely.
Yeah. As you said, the dedication and the passion.
Mm-hmm.
So you also studied chemical engineering, and we're wondering, how do you apply the skills that you learned or you developed there in your current career as a chef?
Yeah, a lot of people would think like, oh, chemistry, it's kind of similar to being a chef, like chemicals and ingredients. Like in a sense, it kind of is, but at the same time, I think a lot of people don't know what a chemical engineer does. We don't work in labs, so that's what a chemist does. So I think a chemist may have more relation to cooking because there actually is like molecular cuisine and using chemicals, but like where chemists work in test tubes and labs, chemical engineers work with reactors and on a much larger scale. So like we don't actually do the formulas. We just figure out how to like put a test tube on a large scale, right? So I think the foundation of whether I was a chemical engineer, like any form of engineer, the foundation of how we think, like the logistics, logically, and the math behind it, really apply towards being a chef, because we always try and be as efficient as possible. Especially being like a business owner, you want to reduce costs, you want to see how you can execute something with minimal labor. So those are definitely traits from engineering that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't a chemical engineer.
For sure. And you mentioned already that the math that you developed your skills in as a chemical engineer comes from the business side of your restaurant.
For sure, yeah. The math is always good. It's not just about like the numbers, the accounting. It's even like to the base level of recipes. If somebody needs to be like, oh, we need a big batch of this recipe, all my recipes are weighed out to the gram for consistency. But if I'm like, oh, do a 5 times recipe, you have to be able to do that quickly. Some people still have to use a calculator, but it is an advantage just to be able to do simple math.
For sure. Efficiency, definitely.
Which not everyone can do, I'll have to say.
It's true. You got to keep up that math.
But I love that there's some transferable skills from other things that you've done in your applied to your current career.
That's including problem solving. So that's pretty great.
Okay, so your next question is, what are some of the tools that you use on your job, and what is one of your favorites?
Besides a knife, just let me grab my apron. I guess that has all my tools in it. So, alrighty.
Knife. We have a picture of one of your knives, we think. Is this one of the ones you're talking about?
Oh, that's a knife. Yeah, that's a really good knife. What separates like a bad knife and a good knife? One, it holds the edge. It has good metal, and you don't need to sharpen it as much, right? So as long as you maintain it by constantly honing before and after you use it, you can always maintain the edge. I have that exact same one on the shelf. I mean, it's still here at the restaurant, but I would say it's a tough decision, because like whether I choose the knife or my apron with all my tools, I may choose my apron and use like a random knife just because it has everything I need for service. So like inside we also have like these I always keep on me. So a bench scraper and a pair of scissors. That's why all my back pockets have holes in them. But like since we have a lot of like vacuum sealed products for shelf life and longevity, like this is important to cut open the bags or cut open whatever packages. This is used to scrape out like every last drop from a bag as well. So there's nothing going to waste. And then you have like plating tweezers. These ones are like fine point. You can grab herbs and like anything that you don't want on the plate or want on the plate. This is like for fine tuning. Spatula, this is actually like everybody in my kitchen wants one, but they're only made in Hong Kong and they stopped making it. This is actually like the last one I have. And it's like very, I don't know, convenient because it can fit in your apron. You can scrape out any like inserts or like containers to get every last drop. Again, I don't want to waste anything. And it's just, yeah, very nice to have. This is a cake tester. So you need this for, let's say I'm deep frying something, like deep frying a spring roll. I want to test if the inside's hot. So you're gonna stick this in the inside and then touch it on a sensitive part of your body to see if it's hot. You can also do it with steak. You have a mini whisk. So if like a sauce is splitting or you need to bring a sauce together, this is always good to have. More plating tweezers, this is for like noodles or anything else that's a bit more convenient. And then a flat spatula. So like if I need to flip like a fish in a pan, like something small, scallops, yeah, anything. This is just a good tool to have. And that's yeah, these are always good tools to have, especially during service.
That's so
It's
cool.
incredible. Wow.
Thank you for showing us that. And now I know what to put in the pockets of my apron, which are empty at the moment.
And a Sharpie. Of course, everybody always needs a Sharpie. Yeah.
And I can start there because I already have one of those.
Oh, but that was so cool to have a sneak peek into the apron of Eric. That was
Yeah.
really
Everybody's always like, why is it so loaded? I don't know. Like only me and like my sous chef and head chef would have aprons loaded like that. Like a normal cook doesn't, I guess, find value in having all those things yet.
But it's good to be prepared. Always good to be prepared.
And you have it
Sure.
all. And I find it hilarious that there's a good reason why your pockets have holes in them because you're carrying those things. That's funny. Okay, well, let's kick it up a notch. I don't know if we can kick it up a notch from that, but by playing another game, continuing along with the Instagram photos, this one is Explain That Photo, where we went to your Instagram and found some more photos for you to explain. The first one is maybe this one.
This one.
Just following from what you were talking about plating, you've got 2 sets of plating tweezers. Can you tell us about this picture?
Bam.
Oh yeah. All right. So that was one of our events. I can't remember the sauce exactly. It may have been a dessert, but like a very famous restaurant in Chicago named Alinea. Like they're one of the best restaurants in the world. I guess they're like well known for plating abstract, I guess. So it's more about just like throwing, like there's 2 ways of looking at art. Like one where it's very refined and controlled, and then one where it looks like that. And I thought that looked cool. So we would just throw the sauce on the plate, and each plate would look unique, which is quite interesting to me.
And this is a fantastic example of STEAM because this is a total mixture of science and art.
Yeah.
So cool. I love that.
I remember seeing a video of you using the bottom of a bowl to make patterns
Oh
on
yeah.
it too. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Okay, your next photo to explain is this one.
Oh, that's one of the photos I was referring to. So we are making what we call fun dough, which is like, if people know dim sum, it would be similar to dough of hagao, so like a shrimp dumpling. That's my grandpa looking over me, teaching me how to make the dough.
Aw,
Yeah, I was 6 years old in that photo.
Oh.
6 years old in that photo. Aw, what a great start.
Okay, and then this photo.
All right, so this was filmed in like mainland China. Obviously, that's Alvin beside me. We were filming a show called Walk the World, and there's like 2 seasons now. And then we were planning on filming a 3rd season earlier this year, but COVID hit and all the travel bans. Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to say where we were gonna film, but yeah, it was this part we were making wooden molds. So like one of the hand craftsmen were actually teaching us. He's been doing it for like 20 plus years of how to hand carve wooden molds to make dumplings. So you would actually put this glutinous rice wrapper dumpling in the mold and then pop it out, and it would have whatever shape you made. So yeah, it's like fishes, turtles, lobsters, Buddhas, like special symbolic molds. But like it was really, really interesting. But it was like so hot. I don't know if you can tell I was like sweaty as hell, but it was like 45 plus degrees out, and we've been filming like all day, and Alvin's just dying with his jacket.
Wow.
Sounds like some hard work, but that seems
So
such an
cool.
incredible, intricate tool.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, we couldn't
So
pick-
much craftsmanship in that.
Yeah.
We could not pick your photos, so we have just a couple
Couple
left, and this is one of them.
Oh, this one's, yeah, this was at, I can't remember what the official name is. Fishman Lobster Clubhouse restaurant. I always get it mixed up, but yeah, it's a place in like Scarborough, I believe. They're like well known for having like massive lobster dinners. So like you walk in, there's just a whole restaurant full of tanks, and all these lobsters are like 15, 20 pounds, like 10 to 20 pound lobsters, and then they make a feast out of it. So they either deep fry it, stir fry it. You get a little lobster fried rice. Like sometimes you get lobster soup. It's one of my favorite places to go for sure. I actually took my staff there as a celebration for a Christmas dinner. Everybody loved it.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Lobster always.
Yeah.
So how about some penne for your thoughts on a few more career questions?
Then your next one is, your restaurant name is R&D, meaning rebel and demon, rebel being you, turning away from the typical career path that you were set on, and demon meaning your mentor. But it's also an homage to research and design. So as you research and design and develop new menu items, where do you take your inspiration from?
So when the city was open, I usually try a new restaurant once a week with my fiance. So we always try a new restaurant, or sometimes go back to the same one we really like. But I draw inspiration from like times I've traveled. I've traveled in various parts of Asia. At the same time, I want to know what current Torontonians enjoy to eat. So by trying all these restaurants, seeing which ones are popular, which ones are getting good reviews, it's very easy to see what the city trends are and what they are currently into. And then I can add an Asian spin to it. One thing when we opened the restaurant that I quickly came to realize is that I'm cooking for Toronto. I'm not cooking for myself. So whether I like it or not, it depends. It all only matters what the customers like. So like, I personally don't like chocolate. I don't like anything bitter. Like, I don't drink coffee. I don't like all of that. So I usually get one of my chefs to make a chocolate dessert. Because I don't really deal well with bitter.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's really great that as a chef, you are very familiar with your palate and you have other people do things to fill in where you need.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely with the coffee thing. But with the chocolate thing, that just means more chocolate for me. So I totally appreciate that. So your next question is, tell us about the role of your of mentorship in your career. How have your mentors helped you develop, and where did you find them?
So I'd say I'd probably have had 3 crucial mentors in my career. The very first one, well, I guess I can't find. Yeah, the first one would have to be Alvin, of course. He not only showed me how to cook, because he went beyond that and always tried to look ahead. So he's taught me about business and how to actually run a restaurant. Whereas the other 2 mentors, one would be Chef Ryan Campbell, who was the head chef at Buka when I was working there. And I spent about 4 to 5 months at Buka. But during that time, he was a phenomenal mentor. Showed me how to stay organized, always be cleaning as you go, just proper foundation and discipline. And then my last mentor would have been because when we first opened R&D, I knew I wasn't experienced enough to actually just run the whole thing. So I was actually only the sous chef. There were many head chefs above me before I ended up being comfortable enough to take over. One of them was his name was Chef Stephen Kwan, and he was a head chef at one of the O&B restaurants for many years. And he came to R&D, really elevated the level of food and elevated my cooking level as well. Not only how to cook, but how to manage and interact with your fellow peers. Because I was again, very immature as a kid, or like 5 years ago, and very short-tempered. But he showed me how to talk to people, and yelling's not always the right way, and that each employee you must interact with differently based on their opinions and their feelings.
Yeah, I love how that goes beyond the cooking itself. It's a bigger experience than that.
Yeah.
And goes into relationships as well. So that's really cool. For our listeners who may not be familiar, can you tell us a little bit more about Alvin, the first mentor?
Sure. So he is one of the judges on MasterChef Canada. He's also a 3 Michelin-starred chef, which is the highest accolade you can get in cooking. He has an empire of restaurants, restaurants in China, Hong Kong, Macau, Vancouver, Toronto, Singapore. He has restaurants all over the world. He made a big name for himself, and he's self-taught. So he never went to culinary school. He was actually an engineer as well as a background. So that's why we kind of have a lot in common. And he's just he started his cooking career very late too, late 40s. And he just, within 10 years span, he's pretty much conquered what people dream to have, 3 Michelin restaurant and absolute empire. And yeah, he goes, does events, travels the world, does TV. He kind of does it all. Yeah, he has the dream job.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And also, it sounds like culinary school is not the only path coming.
For sure, yeah. There's many famous self-taught chefs. Heston Blumenthal would probably be the next one that everybody thinks about. He's like the chef owner of Fat Duck, which is a very famous restaurant in the UK.
Yeah, amazing. So you've got some really great mentors.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have good mentors.
Well, the next question is, when's one time that you felt you were going from the frying pan into the fire where things were just not going right, and it actually turned out to be a pretty good learning experience?
I guess, yeah, we can go back to like my early career, where I was very short-tempered. So I would just lose my temper over like the smallest things. But at the same time, I was like extremely sleep deprived. But it's still not an excuse to just lose your cool. Especially, it would just show how immature I was. Like reflecting back on it, especially if you're like the owner, you should always have a cool head, and you're never going to gain people's respect by just spazzing out all the time. So I think, yeah, when we first opened, I'm a completely different person than I am now.
Yeah, well, that's a really great demonstration that you can grow and recognize things that you need to be self-aware about and that you need to improve upon, and then become a better version of yourself that's much more able to do the career that you're doing. Good for you, Gabe.
And this kind of leads into my next question, which is, what do you do to help you keep balance, de-stress, and turn down the heat a little?
I try and go to the gym, like healthy mind, healthy body, or the other way around, I guess.
All of
Healthy
it.
body, healthy, yeah, this is all encompassed. I think going to the gym is very relaxing, and it keeps me happy. I mean, with this lockdown, I've definitely noticed how much I needed the gym, because it sucks not being able to work out. If it's not gym, it'd just be sitting at home, watching TV, doing the normal stuff. I'm just whatever other people do, watch TV, play some video games. Yeah.
Take your mind off things. Well, now that you mention it, we have to ask, do you have a favorite cooking show?
Favorite cooking show? I don't know. I really like MasterChef Professionals. They only have it in the UK. Everybody has an English accent, but it's really I actually learn a lot. They actually get to bring in their own recipes, so they're actually cooking at their best. There's no you have to memorize this, memorize that. It's this is a challenge. They get their recipe books. They get to use immersion circulators, backpacks, any tools they want to make the best that they can based on the ingredients given to them, which I think is a very good show to watch. Others have crippling advantages, or you only get 10 minutes now. Get wrecked. These ones give you 2 hours to make the best food you can, and their dishes look phenomenal.
Wow, we haven't actually checked that out yet, so now I think we know what's next on our list. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who wants to enter your field?
Yeah, I think at first besides passion, because I think we've really touched on passion, I think it just takes first they need to be able to have the physical resilience. So if you cannot stand for 12 hours straight, without sitting, then I don't think you can be a chef. Obviously you get your half-hour breaks, but sometimes people are just so committed to their job that they don't even want to take the break. So you just need that level of commitment. And a lot of people are my fiance came to Stas. She just wanted to see what the day was like for me, for a day in the chef life was like. Her first complaint was man, I can't stand for this long. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people underestimate. You actually need the physical attributes to stand for that long, looking down. The very first time I started cooking, my neck killed just cutting for 12 hours doing an event. these things are often overlooked. Everybody's like, yeah, I just want to cook. But there's a lot more to it than you think.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to going to the gym, keeping yourself physically healthy.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I think it's just important to have an open mind, try a lot of food. Like, you have to be able to, it's not about having passion, you have to be able to convey it also. Because like a lot of times I find, since it was different as an engineer because people practice interviews. That's one thing I don't think people get to practice coming out of culinary school, interviews. Like, a lot of people's interview skills are very, very weak, if I'm being blunt. So like, that's why we always give people a chance. But sometimes, like, if the interview goes absolutely horrendous, we don't give them a trial shift. It's just like, I get nothing from you. If I ask you what your favorite dish is and you can't even tell me that, if I ask you, like, what do you like to cook at home? It's obviously a trick question. I don't care what you want to cook at home. I don't care what you cook at home. You have to tell me, like, oh, I love to cook this because I use these ingredients, like, it's special to me, blah, blah, blah. You have to be able to convey your passion. I could care less if you cook, like, spaghetti and meatballs, but make it sound like you love doing it.
Yeah, conveying that passion. Communication.
Communication, exactly. Communication skills are super important in the culinary world, whether it's like communicating with your fellow chefs on the line or just like communicating your opinion and feelings. Nobody wants to it's a stressful environment, so you shouldn't pent up anger as well. Like, you have to be able to communicate and be cordial. It's about to get real smoky in here. I don't know if you guys can tell on the camera, but
but we can hear it.
No, I have the hoods off so that I can conduct this interview. Like, normally the hoods are on and it's very loud, but like, my chef's just staring at me and I'm staring at him, and it's getting real smoky in here.
What is it that's being cooked?
We got an order. That like sound earlier that you heard was a Uber order for takeout. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you've done some amazing things in your career so far, Eric, but we'd love to learn a little bit more about the possibilities of being a chef with our next segment, which is Show and Tell. Do you have something to show and tell us about, Eric?
I do. I have this trophy. It's not the MasterChef trophy. Wait. Oh, it's backwards, but I'll just read it out then. It was awarded by the ORMA Foundation. It's like the Ontario Restaurant Hospitality Association. Yeah. And it was for outstanding achievement and contribution to the Asian restaurant and food service industry. So I got the award for Asian Restaurateur of the Year for 2019. I don't know where my name is. Oh, there.
You can do that, yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, look at your name right there on it. It's really cool.
So I only get to hold the trophy for like 1 year until October. But like, we were closed the whole year, so nobody could really see it. But this was a good a good accolade because it's one of the few awards that I've gotten as a professional. So it does mean that I'm doing something right, and that other people are recognizing it means a lot to me.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the actual...
Oh, it's like a boat. I don't know why. It just is the trophy. So it goes all the way back to 2001.
Ooh.
So I'd be like the 20th or 19th.
Yeah.
And then like each year, a new name gets printed on, and then they get to hold the trophy for that year. That's mine for now.
And it's a boat in a bottle. That's really cool. Congratulations again. I love
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, that's so cool. You should at least, make sure to take pictures of it so that it can stay in the restaurant, even if on the wall.
I'll get a hologram of it.
That's a good idea.
Good idea. All right. Well, I think we have enough time for a few audience questions in our Audience Ask segment. Thank you for everyone who sent in questions. The very first one is the Audience Asks box.
Noel wants to know, what's up? What's your process for creating recipes for fun?
Recipes for fun. I don't even know what that means. What is a recipe for fun? What does that mean? Like,
I think Noel was referring to, say you're at home and it's not a recipe for your restaurant.
Oh, I don't know, because I guess recipes for fun to me, yeah, I guess I think of just like food that's fun to cook, not necessarily like taste good, just like random, like let's try jelly beans and chicken. Like that's a recipe for fun. But if I'm cooking at home, like trying to make recipes at home, wouldn't be for the restaurant. It would just mean that it's not Asian. So I do cook a lot of food that's not Asian, but I obviously can't serve it at R&D since we are an Asian restaurant. So like I love making mushroom pasta, steak. Every year for my fiance's birthday, I do like a tasting menu where she has like a theme ingredient. So like this most recent year was Thai. Obviously that's Asian, but like the year before that was vanilla, I think, or mushroom, or one of them. But it's just fun making dishes based on like one theme. Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. It sounds delicious. Gotta ask now, have you ever had jelly beans and chicken?
No, I've never had jelly beans chicken. It's just the first thing that came to my mind.
Not yet. You mean not yet?
Not yet, yeah.
Maybe
I could do like a sweet and sour chicken and melt down jelly beans. Maybe. That's
we're gonna be looking for
Keep
that
us posted.
Yeah.
Okay, your next question. It's said that a chef's toque has 100 pleats to represent 100 ways to cook an egg. You can let us know if that's true. Angela,
sorry, what did you say? A chef's toque?
a chef's toque has 100 pleats to represent 100 ways to cook an egg. Is that true? This is a bonus question. Is that true?
Hey, Austin, is it true a chef's toque has 100 pleats to represent how
100
many ways you can cook an egg? Yeah, who cares? I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Comes from a chef themselves. Who cares? But Angela wants to know, how many ways can you cook an egg?
How many ways can I cook an egg? Depends on your definition of cook. I don't know. I can, yeah, definitely at least 100. Like, there's so many ways, because even if you cook it and cut it differently, technically you're cooking it, well, I guess, depending on your definition, but like I could literally throw an egg in a deep fryer. Like a whole egg. That's one way of cooking it. Yeah, there's infinite amounts of ways because I'm very creative. So yeah, I'll find a way.
You're gonna have a very large hat then.
Yeah. Throwing an egg at like a hot car, like anything could be cooking an egg.
So there might be, an actual real thing behind cooking an egg on a really hot sidewalk or something.
Yeah, you're gonna need multiple hat boxes.
Okay, so Atifa wants to know, how do you manage, this is a very fitting question, how do you manage the heat in the kitchen? It seems very warm.
Yeah, it's gross. You don't manage it. You just power through. Like, man, it gets so hot. You have no idea. In front of the stove, there's a thing called a salamander, which is just like literally fire down. Like, like a broiler? That's like a salamander. So it's like right in your face, there's a salamander. And then a wok, a steamer. Man, you don't deal with it. You just learn to accept it. Nobody actually ever gets comfortable cooking in it. Like summertime, when the hoods are on, there's a air replacement, right? Like you always have to have air circulating. So like they suck in air from outside and it just blows hot air on you in a hot kitchen. So it's just, yeah, it's grossly hot. And like I've worked in Singapore and Hong Kong. Man, those kitchens are hot too, man.
Yeah.
You don't deal with it. You literally just have to power through. There's sometimes you take a break and walk into the walk-in cooler, but it's just that much worse when you come back.
Yikes. Powering through that, wow.
We might have an advantage being short. We can't really reach the salamander. Yeah. Okay, well, the next question comes from Aaron. Thanks for sending in your question, Aaron. In your opinion, Eric, what are the 3 dishes that every home chef should know how to cook?
All right. Spaghetti bolognese has to be one. Whether it's like a high-level bolognese or not, like everybody has to be able to make a pasta sauce and some noodles. Like if you can't do that, then stop. Just stop. I would say like an eggs Benedict. It's a good foundation to be able to properly cook eggs. Whether it's like actually any egg-based dish, like scrambled eggs like a proper scrambled egg, not one with like a liter of milk. Man, those don't count. When it looks lumpy and like little balls, that's not scrambled eggs. That's overcooked egg. It has to be like silky, buttery, nice. And to be able to make like a hollandaise or a sauce, that's good. And then finally, I guess to be able to make like a good steak dinner, like a roast, whether that entails like a roast beef or like a pan-seared steak or a grilled steak, along with sides like a mashed potatoes. I'm trying to think of like a generic thing, or like a side starch, rice, anything. That's like a go-to meal. Like usually for cooks that can't cook and like they have a date, they usually go with like a steak and something. So at least get a steak right. If you can't cook a good medium rare steak, and if you eat well done, just don't cook steak, man.
Okay, well,
I'm learning so much, and I like how the eggs made a comeback.
yeah. Earn your hat. Well, I'm not gonna say which one I don't know how to do, but I do have my apron on, and I'm ready to learn. Right after this, I'm gonna go learn how to fix the third one.
But Simon wants to know, hey Simon, thanks for the question. How do you balance between the business and cooking sides of your career?
Yeah, that's a trick question because you don't really bounce from side to side. It's all encompassed in one. So if you have the mentality of like, now it's time to put my business hat on, now it's time to be a chef, you're not really going to succeed. You need to be able to mix the two together. Because like while you're cooking, it is your business. Whether you want to use 4 ounces of sauce, 3 ounces of sauce, all of it affects your bottom line. So even when you're cooking, you need to be as efficient as possible and always be worried about your business. You always have to be thinking about how can I be saving more? How can I use less? How can I make this taste better to bring customers back, which affects your business? So like they are completely mixed together. There is no wall of like business and cooking. Like some people think like, oh, doing paperwork, office, like accounting is business, but really all the cooks affects the business.
Yeah, sounds like it goes hand in hand. And that brings us to our last question. So that was it for Audience Asks. Thanks so much to everyone who sent in a question. Those are great questions. And our last question for you, Eric, is what's next for you?
We are going where we had planned to open a cafe this year. Like the renovations are done. So the front end of R&D is going to be turned into a cafe. So we'll be open for lunchtime. And I am currently dealing with somebody else to potentially do a pop-up as well, which may be going from August to September. We're still ironing out the details, but yeah, very exciting.
That is very
Sounds
exciting.
amazing. Can't wait to visit this.
Yes, sounds like there's going to be many more places for people to see and taste all the things they offer. That's amazing.
And one quick last question, actually. Since we have you here, what would you, this little guy does not have a name, what would you name this lobster?
Rock.
Brock. Okay.
How come? Where's that
Rock
name?
lobster. It's a rock lobster. What do you mean?
You know.
Okay, well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us on the Steam League. It's been a blast. We've learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Have you.
A wonderful day.
And thank you. And for everyone, if you want to check out even more superheroes in STEAM, just check out our YouTube channel or steamsisters.ca.
All right, bye.